when we were living in Andover, annually, um, on a Sunday in May, early in May, it was variable, subject to postponement by weather and all that. We would have a May Day Log B'mOmer festival in our hayfield. We lived the other part of town. I'm just wondering, is there anyone who uh, survived that ceremony and is still associating with me? Wow, there are, oh, wonderful,
Wow.
wonderful. So, and there were rumors, ugly rumors to the effect that I had made up all this stuff. And all I can say is that if I weren't so eager to hear your reminiscences, I would read you some pages from Theodore Gaster's Festivals of the Jewish Year, complete with footnotes, scholarly apparatus, in which he establishes beyond any reasonable doubt that, in fact, May Day and Lag BaOmer are intimately related and are, frankly, parallel observances. When you discover these parallels, you realize that this talk of inclusiveness uh, has some basis in human commonality and the fact that at some profound level we do respond to the gift of life in similar fashions. So, um, the counting of the Omer is also associated with scholars, and the tradition is that the followers of students of Rabbi Akiba, who survived, though at the cost of his life, let me say, who ensured the survival of Jewish religion, uh, even at the cost of his life. He was one among many martyrs. The tradition has it that on the 33rd day of this daily grain offering, the plague ceased, and the remainder of the scholars were in fact um, granted additional life. If we didn't have so much of our own riches to share, I would love to read um, Abraham Joshua Heschel's retelling of the story of Yochanan ben Zakkai, whose yard site is commemorated this evening, and for whom great bonfires are lit at Meron in Israel, Palestine. But I think we have our own caches, our own treasure troves. So let me simply share with you um, what is, I suggest, a really very nice complement to the traditional counting of the Omer. Passover, Festival of Liberation, and Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks, Pentecost, are linked by the fact that the barley harvest begins at Passover and is completed in the Mediterranean basin around Shavuot, 7 weeks later. And the Bible specifies that each night you shall bring an omer, that's a measure of barley, and offer it before the divine, um, symbolic of growth, in the rabbinic mind, symbolic of the linkage of liberation from human bondage to fulfillment of divine purpose. Shavuot commemorating also the giving of the Ten Commandments. And so each night, one is instructed to number the grain offerings. We, alas, have reduced it to pure arithmetic. And even Omer counters, this is of olive wood, even these don't give it, what can I say, its rootage in soil. But my custom has been, and a few others have adopted it, each autumn at Sukkot, plant some winter rye or winter wheat or barley, depending on what grows well in your area. Let it winter over, and then beginning second night of Passover and continuing for 49 days, go out and cut a little of it so that growth, development are manifest, palpable. And Mary was remarking, it's not as developed as some years. It's been a slow spring, in case you hadn't noticed. But very soon, maybe within a week, you'll see it begins to head out, and you see the grains showing promise of developing, and eventually, and don't breathe deeply if you're allergy afflicted, you shake it and you get yellow pollen, and at the end you can even nibble some of the ripened rye or wheat or barley. For now, I will recite the traditional blessing and read the proclamation of this being the 33rd day of the Omer, and so we take note of what is really a very special occasion. And I am thinking of the wonderful Shavuot all-night study sessions that we traditionally held at Phoebe Quas's house, just down the road a piece. And I'm realizing that as Jewish life continues to develop here and thrive at Andover, you may even want to do an evening, very modest bonfire, followed by a study session on the stuff that I wanted to share this evening, but really don't have time for. So anyway, enriched by both memories of our people, memories of all peoples celebrating the gift of life and a fruitful planet. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. You abound in blessings, eternal our God, source of all creation, who has ennobled our lives, sanctified them by mandating this record of steady development, both from soil and from spirit. Hayom shalosha u'shloshim yom. This is 330 days. Shehem arba'ah shavuot, 4 weeks. V'chamisha yamim la'omer, and 5 days of the Omer. It is Lag B'mOmer.
Amen.
Amen.